What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to show you how to vinyl wrap front door on this Jaguar F-Pace. This is my car. We're wrapping this today in TeckWrap, satin metallic, burnt maroon. Beautiful, beautiful color. Again, I don't get too excited about colors, but this color is actually super awesome. So I love it. I'm going to show you how to do it really nicely. The film comes with a paper release liner. It's normal. You don't need a PET release liner because the film doesn't need high gloss characteristics, which is what the PET release liner adds. That is a plastic release liner. I've prepped the door panel already. This means removing some stuff like the door handle, the window trim. I removed the mirror. Lower trim piece at the bottom of the door just makes things easier to wrap. Do you have to? You don't have to remove that piece, but I really highly advise you remove the door handle. Clean in all the areas on either end of the door, top and bottom as well. Also all in here. And I use a little bit of compressed air to blow away any extra or loose particles. This way, nothing is drawn in when we remove the backing paper or the release liner. I have my film already right here. We're going to bring this over and we're going to get started. Let's do this. Point out a few things here. Things you can do, things you shouldn't do, and get this wrapped for you guys. All right, I'm just going to line this up. So right now I'm positioning the film. I want to make sure that we have some overlap. Let's make sure we're good over here as well. It's close, but we're fine. We have an extra inch or two. You can leave yourself a little bit more if you feel like you need it. Really, it just depends on experience level and how comfortable you are working with minimal amount of film at the sides. Top and bottom, I have plenty. No need to worry there. I'm actually going to trim some off on the bottom. So we're going to find that bottom edge and we're going to trim just below it. So somewhere right around here. And I just kind of made a little indentation with my finger so I know where that line is. We can take this piece, we can put it inside the car. This way we can use it for door handles, inlays, stuff like that. Let's put a magnet over here to prevent the film from basically pivoting. Right now, you see the film just sits there. Why? Because it's a little bit more rigid with obviously the release liner on it. There is nothing here holding it, maybe a little bit of static, but the magnets will prevent, if you stagger them, from pivoting, or from the film pivoting. Now it's got a black adhesive, which is great. It's probably a clear adhesive with a black backing. And that's great for doing seams, because when you do need to do seams, they're actually not very visible. Let's actually roll this down a little bit more. Let's go a little bit more than that. Give it about an arm's reach, whatever you can reach, and start rolling that around just like that. There we go. I'm just going to make sure my positioning is still the same. I can anchor this to the fender. I can also anchor it to the pillar up here. We're good. I don't want to put magnets on the wrapped or the area that I'm wrapping. So once I remove the release liner or the paper backing, we don't want to put magnets down anymore. It can harm any film. And it's also just going to add more bonds to the film in that area, and you don't want that just yet. Now, this is a high tack vinyl. It's not a low tack vinyl, so it means it's going to grab more aggressively almost right away. So you can use a little soap and water, and by that I mean some baby shampoo, about 2 milliliters of baby shampoo per 1 quart/1 liter of water. And then you wipe that, you spray it onto a cloth, and you wipe it on to the surface, and you let it dry. That's not going to reduce the tack tremendously so that the vinyl doesn't stick anymore, but it can make things a little bit easier. Just going to pull that back slightly. There we go. And we're going to reel this off. You can see that I anchored the top and bottom really nicely. I want to make sure that we stay away from the underside of the film. And we're going to just pull that snug and tight, nothing crazy. Keep it flat. Okay? So I'm pulling the film apart and trying to keep it as flat as possible. I'm going to anchor this to the top. We are going to see what's happening right around there. It's a little bit wonky. That's okay. We want it to be as flat as possible. Now, in this area here, we want to squeegee. This is where the film is touching the most. So we want to squeegee this area almost right away. Don't wait too long. The vinyl will settle. If you use the soap and water, it will give you more time. The vinyl will not settle as quickly. It just won't settle onto the surface until it's fully cured down the road. Give it about 2-3 days. Okay, so go right around the handle and everything else here. Excellent. Now, there's a body line. It runs away here, so it's kind of right here, but then it trails off. That's okay. We're going to get the top. So the vinyl's basically hanging off of this, almost. we're getting the top done first. I think it's the most important part to do because we want to prevent or eliminate the chance of anything coming in from the top side, particles, debris, that sort of thing. Great. Let's go there. Pop that up really quick. And techniques to lift the film, pull upwards. So I'm pulling upwards and I'm just going to push it out with my hand. Comes off really nicely, guys. And it's really controlled this way. This way you're not lifting up more than you need to. So let's keep going. And we're going to feed the film into the window trim area. Well, we don't want to stretch it into there. If we stretch it into there, it's just going to bubble out. Not that it really matters that much because no one's going to see it once we put the window trim back on. But, you know, just to make things nice all the way through. And again, this is my car. It's just the lease. I'm still doing a nice job. You know, it's good to be consistent all the way through with your workmanship because if you start to slack, yeah, that can, you know, affect things later on down the road. You just might start to take things for granted. Always try to do your best. All right, here we have a small recess and I can feed the vinyl into it. It's probably nothing to be concerned about just right here. So we can just stretch the vinyl into there, okay? It's really nothing to be concerned about. If it's a really sharp angular recess, that can be more of a concern. However, this one is not. All right. I have a large bubble right here. Let's see if I squeegee it, if it goes away. Yeah, it went away. That's awesome. So your squeegee pressure is super important. The only thing is that you just don't want to go too quickly with a matte or a satin film. It can leave like almost like glossy streaks on the film. That's from friction. Just so you know. I want to lift this up. I want you to get this big air bubble out of here. And then once I do, I can actually just hold the film like this. Now watch, once I get this one out, a little bit higher. There we go. Quick lift. There we go. Now the film should maintain itself being very straight. If I just hold it with one hand here, I'm not putting a lot of tension, but I'm just keeping it away from the panel. Try and hold it more in the middle. There we go. And we're just letting the vinyl fall down and we're squeegeeing the air out at the same time, okay? See how easy that is? When gravity works for you, like it is right now in this case, it's so much easier. On a hood, for example, or a roof, where the panel is horizontal, it's going to be harder because gravity is more or less working against you. The vinyl can just sort of hang off and we can gently hold it away from the surface. At a certain point, it's probably just going to hang the rest of the way and I don't even need to touch it. Firm pressure as we get to the bottom. That's really important as well. A lot of people end up not pushing hard enough as they get down lower because your angle and your body positioning changes. So put yourself in a comfortable position. That's probably tip number one. Now here, I'm gonna do a relief cut around this little vent or whatever you want to call this thing. Why am I doing this? I'll explain it in a second. You're gonna see. I want the film to come around right here, tension free. So I want to lift this up, and we don't want to tear it, so just be careful. We don't want that cut to run. Just gently take your time. And as soon as I get that off, that's going to go down in there a lot better, okay? Now I'm not leading tension to the edge. Okay, let's do a few things here. Let's go around the edges. I'm actually going to just trim off the bottom right here. So I'm going to leave myself enough to wrap down and around. I'm just estimating right now, but so I don't have to cut on the paint, I'm going to hold the film outwards like this and keep about, I don't know, half an inch, 3/4 of an inch or so to wrap down and around. Doesn't have to be the straightest cut, guys. Try and make it straight, but it doesn't have to be the straightest cut. No one will ever see it behind the trim. Just keep that in mind. It won't be too critical. What I'll do next here is we're just going to go over the edges with some heat and a glove using our finger. We'll also do the door handle cup area. So let's go over all this right here. Make that nice and tight. Cool. Let's go up to the top. Let's even go right across that top edge. Let's come around, oops, here. All the way down, and just make sure that's nice and tight. It's important. Now I'm gonna post heat this area here. And that just means I'm gonna go over with some heat and ensure that it's gonna last. You know, I wanna settle the vinyl in the recessed area where I had to stretch it. I don't want it to bubble, right? So this is gonna promote adhesion and level out the air channels with adhesive. There is a specific temperature you need to heat that to. I've been doing this for a long time, but you can just feel it out once you've been doing it for a while. Now here, heat it until it shrinks. Saw what happened there. I'm going to start in the middle, okay, and then we're going to work. Okay, so I actually made a mistake here. I got a crease or a wrinkle. Let's see if I just heat it from here. If the film will lift itself out. Sometimes it happens. I'm going to hope that it does. Otherwise, I have to go in there and fix it. Not a fan of that, but just give it time. Is it moving? Can't really tell too much. Okay, so I know that I can get access from here, so I'm gonna have to cut a hole. There's gonna be a hole right there. And we're gonna go in from the inside. So I'm gonna cut a circle-ish hole like this. I'm not really ready to cut this area just yet. That's what happens when your vinyl is a little bit too hot and you squeegee and you don't take your time. Okay, so I need to get in there with some tools. So we're gonna need to get in there and begin to lift. And there's air in here, right? So this is an air pocket. So as long as we can get something far enough down in there, we'll be okay. Otherwise, I will have to rewrap the door. So I'm gonna take the glove off because I don't need it right now. It's just a setback, right? What do I have in here? It's a bummer when stuff like this happens, but hey, you know, it's the opportunity to possibly show you something. Okay, let's try this end. It's a little bit wider. It just happens to be really tight here. I need something skinnier. This should do it, but we got to be careful with it. And if I happen to stretch the vinyl too much, it's okay. It's just very long, this thing. Okay, I'm gonna have to go get one other tool. I have something else. All right, I've got one other tool here. I'm gonna try and get in there again. I don't know if this one's gonna work either. Let's see. Just try to not pierce a hole here. That's the main goal. Like it's almost not that bad. I wonder if I can get a little closer from here. Like I know, let me just look at the back one here. Okay, so I can actually, there's a hole that's closer right there. I can go a little bit closer. So let's go here. Let's go right here. Okay, and then this should help me get closer. It's troubleshooting. We all make mistakes. It's gonna happen to you too. I just wasn't expecting it in that moment. Let's try this one again since it's a little bit less abrasive. So here's what not to do. Maybe something wider. It's almost too wide. Yeah, it's tricky to find something that works. I just don't want to tear it, because that'll be bad. on, get down there. If it tears, I gotta redo it. It's kind of going, so I'll show you in a second. You probably see the center is starting to move. And as soon as I think I get this up, it should be a little bit better, a little bit easier. Okay, now that that's a little bit higher, I might be able to get something a little bit wider in there, like this. There we go. And that'll be less tension in one spot. Come on. Come on, connect. There we go. Now, if this is destroyed, I'm going to be getting a new piece and doing it again. We're going to find out. It's a bummer. See, I'm just taking time. Okay, I'm pretty much there. I just need something a little bit more fine to finish that last little bit off. There we go. Okay, so let's see what happens if we heat it. I don't want that to come back. There we go. Okay, let's see how the rest goes. There's no guarantee that this worked well without causing extensive damage to the door handle area. And I don't mean the paint itself, I mean the actual wrap. Yeah, look at that, it's pretty good. All right, well, I don't see anything wrong with it. So that's a good sign. Let's go and do this again. There we go. And work the air out to the ends. Same thing here. All right, let's get some post heat in there. Let's do all this. We're gonna go and heat it afterwards anyways, so let's squeegee out this really nicely. Start in the recess first, add a bit of heat. Kind of using my fingernail with the glove on. Nice. And then let's go here as well. So it's really important to work the air from the center out to either side if you have access with the air coming out. Sometimes it's just one side. So sometimes you can only work that air out to one side of the handle. Sometimes you can't even work it out to either side of the handle. So you have to cut a hole and you have to lift it. So a little more tricky to do in that case. And it's turned out good. All right, let's cut. Was what I was going to do after that happened, or before that happened, was just cut here. I'm going to be running my knife on the door side, on the back door side. And we don't want to stick our knife out too far because we can cut into the paint. So very little bit as far as how much I have my knife sticking out right now. I don't want to damage anything, even though it's already wrapped in there. I just don't want to damage my wrap or anything else. Cool. And that gives us enough to wrap around the edge. Let's come across here, around the top. And tear your extra vinyl off. Sort of like a bandage is kind of how I did it there. That prevents it from potentially, lifting any vinyl from this side, because you don't want that to happen. If you use a little soap and water, that is more likely to happen. Oh, my phone is ringing. So let's cut out here. And run our knife all the way along that top edge. And I'm just going to start lifting as I get to the end here. And I'm going to cut a bunch of this off. I'm not going to do the full trim yet, so I need to open the door to do that. Can't open the door just yet either. We've got to start cutting some of this. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to run my knife on the fender side. This side doesn't really matter if you put a little bit more knife out usually. Sometimes keep in mind some cars have rubber seals, so you don't want to be slicing a rubber seal or damaging any of that. But you shouldn't hurt any paints by having a little bit of your extra knife out. Let's retract my blade. And we're going to take this now, we're going to run our knife out here. There we go. All right, so I'm going to lift this off of the actual fender. Right there, I'm just going to take my time, be easy with it. I don't want to tear it. Cool. Now we can actually open the door. So I'm going to hold that away. I can pull a little latch right here. And I'm just going to get this top section done right here. And we can wrap this around now with the door open slightly with our hand. Just be careful the door doesn't close. You know, that's a disclaimer there. Just be very careful. Door closes, that's going to be really painful. Okay, so now we can access up here a little bit better. It's more thorough, more detailed, and just definitely more thorough. Okay? Just see all that. I'll do that backside in a second. Let's get all in here. I want to add a fair amount of heat. This at least kind of helps you get it going around the edge. And you can get it around pretty good. I can get my fingers almost right behind there. It just depends on the type of car. It's not always the same or a similar case, similar situation. It really just depends on the type of car. Oftentimes you can also reach it from the inside of the door area. Just push this down here. So you can see that I don't have too much wrapped around the bottom there. My holes are still exposed, but it'll give me full coverage as far as the paint goes. Okay, so before I do anything else, I'm going to trim off my excess vinyl here. Let's come in behind. Let's even open that up a little bit more. Maybe it gives me better access. Sure does. Let's come right in behind here and right down, and super nice access to this area. And just looking to see where I have to cut. Cool. I'm going to tuck some of that. I'm going to pull that rubber seal back slightly, tuck some of that behind there. Cool. And then put that rubber seal back. And now we can do the door side right here. So that should give you a pretty good view. Let's just get that camera down so you can see the bottom. These corners right here, you have to heat them and push very firmly around. So you might get some wrinkles on the inside. You might get some very small ones, but they'll be even worse, and they might show on the exterior side if you don't do exactly as I just showed you right there. We're going to gently work some of this down and around. Again, there's another point right here, so we're going to heat that, and we're going to start pushing that down and around as well, and get those creases to kind of go around the other side. At least they're more on the inside of the door. No one's going to see them other than getting in and out of the car very quickly for that brief moment. So follow with the heat gun, or lead with the heat gun, follow with your hands. Several passes, right? See how many passes I do? I'm not trying to knock it all out in one shot. Amazing. All right, let's close the door and see what we're looking at. Let's double check this edge here. I want to make sure that I've wrapped all the way around as far as I need to. I can see some vinyl, still not quite all the way around yet. And a softer, more rubber-like squeegee does help for that. Or other fancy tools can help with that also, like something with a bit of a curve on it. And I can see Fitment is very tight with these panels. Give me a lot of room. Okay, we've got enough to use our tucking tool. Great. That's the door with the mistake to show you, how to even fix that. Yeah, I'll slap this panel back on. I've got to wrap the door handles. The mirror's already done. I've got the quarter panel to do next. So I've got the door handles, the quarter panel, basically front and rear bumper. And there's not a whole lot more left on this car here. I hope this video was informative and helpful in showing you how to do this. I look forward to doing more videos for you. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Take care.